Welcome to the New Vision Echo Tips podcast. We welcome you here with us this afternoon, and this is episode number 35. So, in episode 35, what we'll be talking about? Well, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about, in particular, some new navigation techniques that you can use when listening to a podcast on your Amazon Echo or an Audible book or audiobook through the Audible service that's an Amazon company. So these new navigation techniques can be really handy, and this is an update to a former episode. But before we get into the meat of this material, it'll be a good idea for us to have a little brief note about the Echo Tips podcast, and then we'll get right into the material. This episode is brought to you by the New Vision program at Goodwill. We're also grateful for the kind use of WVTF Studios. New Vision is a program of Goodwill that provides information services and assistive technology training to individuals with visual impairments living in Southwest Virginia. Goodwill Industries of the Valleys is a nonprofit organization serving the New River, Roanoke, and Shenandoah Valleys of Virginia. Goodwill's mission services help individuals with disabilities and disadvantages to get back to work and gain greater independence. These shows are provided for educational purposes. This podcast may not be retransmitted, sold, or reproduced without written permission from New Vision. So hello, welcome back. I hope you've enjoyed listening to the Echo Tips podcast, but if you're a new listener, we'd like to welcome you. I'm David Ward, with an assistive technology instructor with the New Vision program at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys based in Southwest Virginia. Today's Echo Tip, we're going to be dealing with listening to podcasts and audiobooks through the Audible service on your Amazon Echo, and in particular, just not about listening to them, but about how to navigate in new ways that have recently been added. So in our former episode, in season 1, episode 14, we talked about playing podcasts. So if in particular you want to understand a little better about how to do that and where those podcasts are pulled from or how to go look it up or something like that, or where to find podcasts and listings of them, you might want to go back and look at episode 14. Because today we're going to in particular be talking about the navigation techniques, and you think about fast forwarding or rewinding or playing the next episode or previous episode. We're going to talk about new techniques in that regard. But before we get too far along, it'd be good for you to mute your Amazon Echo's ears. So especially if you're listening to this tutorial, it'll be good to do that, because otherwise me invoking these things in studio could actually trip your Echo, and we don't want that. So on the top of your Echo, if you have a round one, there should be a little silhouetted microphone with a slash through it. If you push that button, it'll turn the ring on top red and it'll make a little thump sound, and that tells you that her ears are shut off. And so that way I can talk and it won't be tripping your Echo at home. If you have one with a screen on the top, it has a similar button along the top edge. If the screen's facing you, it's usually on the top left. And when you press it, it'll put a little red bar at the bottom of the screen. And that tells you that her ears are shut off as well. So I'll just give you a moment to do that. Just take a second to do that. And, all right, hopefully you got it. All right, then we'll proceed here in the studio and let you hear about some of these new navigation techniques. All right, so in regards to podcasts, just as a quick reminder, are on-demand radio. A lot of radio shows, other content is available in podcast form. In the community, I work with a lot of visually impaired individuals or legally blind. There's a lot of really good podcasts that are put on by blind individuals across the United States and around the world. And what the challenge I run into with some of the podcasts I listen to is they're very long. They're very long. And some of them could be an hour or two, and I enjoy that. But if I come back home or I'm listening to one at work and then I come home and I want to pick up where I left off, how do I do that? In former times, it wasn't possible to do that. Or maybe, and I'll be bad in a way, even if you want to skip maybe a commercial in an episode. So let me give you an example. A podcast from the Blind Bargains podcast. So let me give you an example. They're usually pretty long. Alexa, play the Blind Bargains podcast.
Getting the latest episode of Blind Bargains audio. Here it is from TuneIn.
From beautiful Orlando, Florida, It's blindbargains.com coverage of ATIA 2019, brought to you by AFB Access World. For the latest news and accessibility information on mainstream and access
Alexa,
technology, Apple, Google, Microsoft.
Go forward 5 minutes.
Access technology
is both a Braille display and a standard Bluetooth.
Alexa, go back 30 seconds.
Played out. It's really
Alexa,
a context thing because if you
stop.
have the context, you think.
So it might have been hard to hear. Hopefully, we'll get that in a way that's easy for you to hear. But once I have the podcast going, I can control the way I interact with it. I can jump forward 5-10 minutes. I could give whatever the minute, even if it's like an hour long, I could say jump ahead 30 minutes because I might have listened to half of the show already at work or somewhere else, So very powerful. I love the jumping back too. Like, let's say you just missed something. You're like, oh, what was the name of that website? They just said what? You say, just go back 30 seconds. And you might notice it has that audible chime too that kind of tells you that it's processing and that the command is finished. So that's a very, very powerful feature. And it also extends, I believe, to the audiobooks through the Audible service. In fact, I could test that right now. Alexa, play my Audible book.
Getting your selection from Audible, resuming the curious case of Benjamin Button.
This is Audible.
Alexa, go forward 10 minutes.
Then concealed his face in his hands.
Alexa, stop. So yeah, you have some additional controls sometimes in the audiobooks too, because they're segregated by chapters or things like that. So I could use chapter controls. You might want to look back to our tutorial on audiobooks for that information as well. But this new navigation is really, really handy and can save a lot of time. All right, well, we appreciate your listening today. In our next episode, we'll be talking about searching your calendar. So in previous episodes, we've talked about adding appointments or deleting appointments to your calendar. Next time, we're going to talk about how do you search your calendar using nothing but your voice. And so I think you'll find that really interesting. But until then, it's time to turn the microphone back on your Amazon Echo. And I'm David Ward signing off for the New Vision program at Goodwill of the Valleys. And we thank you for listening.
Thanks, Dave. In conclusion, let me tell you a thing or two. This episode is brought to you by New Vision at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys, and it is also made possible in part by a grant from Community Foundation serving Western Virginia. And there's more. We're also grateful for the kind use of WVTF Studios. New Vision is a program of Goodwill that provides information services and assistive technology training to individuals with visual impairments living in Southwest Virginia. For more information, check out our website at goodwillvalleys.com/newvision, with no spaces. Goodwill Industries of the Valleys is a nonprofit organization serving the New River, Roanoke, and Shenandoah Valleys of Virginia. Goodwill's mission programs help individuals with disabilities and disadvantages to get back to work and gain greater independence. These shows are provided for educational purposes. This podcast may not be retransmitted, sold, or reproduced without written permission from New Vision. Thanks for listening.